Hello, hello. My name is Sissy, and today we are going behind the scenes with the Tricou family, who are moving into Pleasantview. I am so excited for them to be moving into Pleasantview. I was secretly, or not so secretly, thrilled when you guys decided to have the Tricous move into Pleasantview as a celebration for our community growing to 250 subscribers. And I am super duper excited to have our first supernaturals. Day 4 in Pleasantview is going to be so much fun. Rather than talk about how excited I am, why don't I just show you guys? I spent way too much time on this house. Like a lot too much time. It is massive. I spent more time setting up the house than I did setting up the Sims. So we have a lot to go over. We have 3 floors. I left the attic empty because I just could not decorate anymore. And we have a basement, and the detached garage, and 8 Sims. 8. That's twice as many as any of our other behind the scenes. So we really need to get started. Look at this entryway. I love this door, and I hardly ever use it. So when you go inside, first there is a staircase in the entryway. There's a statue of the Gray Lady. There is seating. This doesn't look like it has a ceiling, only because it's open to the 2nd floor. But there's a huge Eye of the Watcher on the wall. This is a very religious family. We'll get to that later. And a 2-story chandelier. Let's go through this door first in the entryway. As you can probably guess, it is just a guest bathroom. Very nicely decorated. Everything in this house is nicely decorated, if I do say so myself. There is a formal dining room right here, with plenty of seating. I say plenty, there's seating for 8, and there are 8 Sims who live here, so not much room for guests. There is a door here that goes outside towards the garage, but we will come back to the garage at the end. If we continue this way, there is the kitchen. On this side, there is the stove, calendar for our holidays mod, an Eye of the Watcher. There is an island. There is a juicer, a refrigerator, mixer, wine rack, etc. You can tell the color scheme, right? And there is the door from the kitchen which goes out to the wraparound porch. Again, we'll do the outside and the garage at the end. There's also a door right here. If you'll notice, it sticks out. So this is the door to the dining room that we came through. This door goes to the basement. We will go up first and then we will do the basement. So if we go through this door here, this is the formal living room. There's a grand piano, a fireplace, seating, lots of portraits and decoration. I used a lot of wallpaper. There's a nectar bar too. I used a lot of wallpapers in this build that I do not usually use. So it was actually quite fun to use all of the different types of wallpapers that I don't tend to use, especially not together. So I will go through the story a little bit as we go of the Sims through their rooms. But I was trying to think of a way that our Sims, the Tricous are usually deceased in downtown. So what are they doing in Pleasantview? How are they alive? What are they doing? So this house is obviously a knockoff of the House of Fallen Trees. It's a different version of it. So I did download this and renovate it. I will say that the lot that I downloaded, it has a lot of custom content, and I do not download custom content when I download lots. So when I launched it, it was pretty empty. There were like 3 items in it. And I completely redid the floor plan. I completely redid the outside. I moved the garage. So it pretty much looks nothing like the one I downloaded, but I did draw a lot of inspiration from that. So I will link that one in the description below for those of you that are interested, if you would like to download it or see the lot that I was inspired by. So if we go upstairs, you will see this better from the top down, but there is this wall in the middle here, and this is the staircase from the entryway, and this is the staircase from the living room. And so if you come upstairs and look over this banister, this is where we have the Eye of the Watcher. You'll notice that every single window in this house has drapes and curtains over it. And that is because this entire family is supernatural, including vampires, so I imagine that they would have a lot of drapes around the windows, right? So each floor, there's the staircase that goes up to the 3rd floor, but here on the 2nd floor, there is a door that goes to the outside wraparound balcony, a bubble blower, a typewriter, and then there are 2 bedrooms. A larger bedroom with these double doors and a smaller bedroom. Let's go into this bedroom first. So before we go into this bedroom, I just want you guys to know that my kind of story that I'm starting with is that due to something that happened, maybe with politics, maybe somebody in the family did something they shouldn't, but the Tricous had to fake their death, and they enlisted the help of Jennail to do that. They went into hiding for a little bit, and this house, which is very similar to the House of Fallen Trees, was one of their other properties that they owned. They are a very wealthy, very old family, so it stands to reason that they would have had multiple homes and houses scattered throughout the country. So they have returned to Sim Nation. They are coming to Pleasantview, hoping to be welcomed, finding a place that they can live peacefully. So let's go into this room. This is a double bed, a dresser, and witchy. We will get to that later. But this is a space for one of the couples. The Tricou family is made up of Jennicor and Jon Smith. Their 2 daughters, who are both married, and each daughter has 1 child. We will go through the family tree after the house tour. So this is one of the large suites for one of the adult couples. Obviously, one of them is a vampire, and one is a witch. And then it has an ensuite bathroom with a shower, a tub, a toilet, just a full bath. Like I said, I tried to use tiles and wallpapers and things that I don't always use. I wanted this house to feel old and put together over the centuries, but I also wanted it to feel like modern Sims lived here. So you'll notice that with some of the bedspreads, the eclectic artwork. Hopefully it comes through. So I wanted it to feel dark and gothic, but also old world. So this is Fricorith's bedroom. He, as you can maybe tell, is also a witch. He gets that from his father. He has an Eye of the Watcher. Every bedroom has an Eye of the Watcher. Let's just get that out there. Like I said, this is a very religious family. You may notice, if you are eagle-eyed, that this is from the Sim Logical School mod set. We will get to how I do school for this family later. They will not be going to the school with our other teenagers. And then this room also has a bathroom. A little bit smaller than the couple's room. This only has a shower, no tub, and of course a laundry hamper, because I do have the laundry mod in my game. And now let's go upstairs. If we go up to the 3rd floor, there is some music, a smaller bedroom, a double bedroom, a door to the outside balcony, a poker table, and some skilling objects. Let's go to the double room first. The Eye of the Watcher, a vampire coffin, a double bed, nicely decorated, very different from the one downstairs in terms of colors. I tried to incorporate their favorite colors and their personalities into their rooms. There is a fireplace in the sitting room, and there's also a fireplace in the 2 double bedrooms upstairs. And then this is a bedroom, a different shape, but has all the same amenities as the one downstairs. It has a shower, a tub, a toilet, a mirror, etc. And then if we go out, this is Gvaudoin's bedroom. She is obviously a vampire with her Eye of the Watcher. She has a Sims 4 poster over her desk. Her favorite color is blue, if you can't tell. Hamper. And then this is her bathroom. I think it came out pretty well. I may have overdone it on the blue with her, but it's so different from the rest of her family. Everyone else in her family, their favorite colors are black, gray, white, or red. I think except maybe Kvornan's color is green, I think. Kvornan's favorite color is green, and Gvaudoin's favorite color is blue, but everybody else likes those gothic colors. All right, now let's go down to the basement. So to get to the basement, you go through this door in the kitchen. And so if you go down the stairs, which are hidden in the kitchen, there are 2 doors in this direction and an archway. We will go there last. But in the basement, there is a pool table. There is a large study area. There is a prayer statue. And there is a drafting table. I struggled with what to put on the walls here, but I love the idea of wood paneling in the basement. I just think, I don't know why, but as soon as I put it on, I was like, this is what has to be down here. The rest of the house is wallpaper, almost exclusively. So I just love this. And over here, through this door, we have another guest bathroom. This one has a shower and a tub. So the guest bathroom upstairs only has a toilet and a sink. This extra bathroom has a shower and a tub. And then through this door right here in the basement, we have a small laundry room with a washer and dryer and just a hamper where people can bring their clothes from their rooms down into the laundry room. And through this archway, there is some greenery, a winged gray lady statue, seating, some hydroponics. So somebody who likes to be inside, but also still likes to garden. And through these double doors, we have the last couple's suite. This one, of course, is for Jennicor and Jon Smith, who are the elders of the family. So when you walk in, you will notice a large study area. There is a violin. There is an Eye of the Watcher. There are some aromatherapy candles in here, 3 different sets for 3 different need boosts. Through this door over here, there is the master bathroom with a tub. This one has a dual vanity and it has a shower. This one is slightly larger than the ones upstairs. And if you go in this direction, this is the seating area in the master. There is a large aquarium and 2 archways. So through this archway, there is a vanity, a double bed. This room has some potions in it. There is a voodoo doll, fairy potion, a laundry hamper, dresser, full-length mirror, and of course, a coffin. So this suite is, of course, huge. But Jennicor is the matriarch of the family, so I thought she deserved something massive. Now let's take a look outside. Now from the front of the house, there is a wraparound porch. So on the first floor, you can go around, and this is the door that leads into the kitchen area. So there is some seating, there is an outdoor grill, and there is an exercise mat. And this porch leads right around to the front. It goes 100% around the house. This is the door that leads to the dining room, and this is the door that leads to the garage. So you can get to the garage from the front gate, from the dining room, from the porch, etc. Or you can go down these stairs to get to the massive backyard. Now I did think about putting a pool or a greenhouse back here, but I decided not to for the time being. I want to see what our Sims actually enjoy and what they would want in this space. This is not supposed to be their primary home. This is a secondary home that they sort of escaped to. So we will see what they decide to put here. Now, if we go back to this side of the house and go upstairs, this is the door from the second floor. And on this area, we just have an easel. So on the second and third floor, the balcony does not wrap around. It goes all the way on the back side of the house. and all the way on this side of the house. But on the second floor, so far, all that is there is an easel. And on the third floor, all that is there is a telescope. We will see if our Sims want to add anything else. And finally, let's take a look in the garage. Now, the driveway has space for 2 cars, so it is a double car driveway. And if we go in here, there is 1 car here, and there is a fixer car in the second spot. So there is actually room for 4 vehicles on this lot. I have these Sims waiting inside for us to go through them because, like I said, some of them are vampires, so you can't be out in the sun too long. But before we get to the family members, let's take a look at the house from the top down. Now, like I've mentioned, this house is massive and the lot is even larger. It is a 5x4 lot, 50x40 tiles. And you may have noticed some spaces while I was doing the tab tour of where I could have added more decorations or light fixtures, but I really wanted to try to streamline this lot as much as possible, because with such a large lot with so many items and with 8 Sims, several of which have full body overlays, I want to make sure that my game can handle things before we fill up the space. And I also want to see what my Sims want. First things first, this is the space that I did not show you. This is the attic. I was actually planning to use this space for the teenagers, to put some things just for them, a lounge area, and most importantly, a school area, since I'm going to be homeschooling them. You can actually see the remnants of some of the school items that I've hidden in here. But for now, it's empty and I don't have a staircase leading there. On the 3rd floor, we have the balcony, which has a telescope. We have a double bedroom. This is for Nylissit and Kiernan. Her favorite color is white, and I thought the gold would be a lot of fun. There's gold in the doors that we used in the house and things like that, so we did these colors for her. And then this is their bathroom. Like I said, it was a lot of fun to try to find tiles and wallpapers, drapes, and things like that I don't often use. I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've used this recolor for the toilet. Going out of their room, the landing for this floor has the poker table, some decorative items, and a stereo. Their daughter's room is also on this floor. Gvaudoin is a vampire, so she does not have space in her single room for a bed and a coffin, so I just gave her a coffin. She has a desk with a homework pencil for the school system, laundry hamper, dresser, full-length mirror, etc., and her own bathroom. If we go down to the 2nd floor, the 2nd floor also has a double bedroom. This bedroom is for Jennail and Kvornan. Jennail's favorite color is red, as you can probably tell. So I love this room. You'll notice slight differences in the floor plans, light fixtures, wood colors, and things like that between all the bedrooms. The entire house is not matchy-matchy, but I did want it to have that super old house feel with some newer items. Now, Kvornan is a warlock, so his witchy items are over here in this area. And their ensuite bathroom is right here. It is a full ensuite with a shower and a tub. If we go out of their room into the landing, there is the bubble blower, the typewriter, the door which leads out to the balcony with an easel on it, a chess table, and over here is their son Fricorith's bedroom. He has a desk, a laundry hamper, a full-length mirror, etc. He is also a warlock, so I do have his podium here, although there's not enough space for his podium and his cauldron, so we might be able to put his cauldron somewhere else in the house or rearrange things if he really needs it. And this is his ensuite bathroom with just a shower. Now, if we go downstairs, you'll see that there are the 2 staircases, one which leads to the entryway and one which leads to the sitting room. So the sitting room here has obviously plenty of seating, a stereo, a grand piano, a nectar bar. You will notice that there are no televisions in this house and no computers, though we do have a typewriter, which Sims can write novels on. Through the sitting room, we have the kitchen, which has a bar with seating for 4, 2 open countertops, and a mixer and a juicer. There is an Eye of the Watcher in every bedroom, as well as here in the kitchen, and the giant one in the entryway. The kitchen also has a door to the wraparound porch, which has seating for 4, a grill, and an exercise mat. I really do love the use of the curtains and drapes in this house. I didn't use the same ones everywhere, but for example, downstairs, there are black ones in the kitchen, red ones in the dining room, and white ones in the sitting room, but they're all the same style. I like how it creates a similar look and feel throughout the house, while it's still feeling like it's been somewhat thrown together, but also thrown together over a long period of time. The dining room has seating for all 8 family members and is right next to the kitchen, and visible from the entryway where guests may come over for a dinner party. There's also a guest bathroom with a toilet and a sink, and in the entryway seating for those who maybe are waiting for somebody, and just some decorative items, including a grandfather clock and a 2-story chandelier. Now if we go through the kitchen to the door down to the basement, you can see that the basement is massive. It is even larger than the first floor because it goes underneath the porch. So when you first come down to the basement, there is the drafting table, lots of books, a prayer statue where they can pray to the Watcher, pool table, a full bathroom. This is to have extra options for baths and showers for household members, since there are 8 household members. The laundry room is also in the basement, probably the smallest room in the house, and not decorated because it's a laundry room. Then we have the master entry. So this master entryway has a lot of gardening things on the inside, since you can imagine that the couple that live down here do so for good reason and don't like to venture out too much. When you first enter the Grand Master Suite, you have their own sitting area with even more bookshelves, a massive aquarium, a camera, aromatherapy candles, violin, and over here the door to their giant master bathroom. I had so much fun with this house. I love the house that I was inspired by, and I spent so long on it because I just wanted everything. I just had so much fun. It was so much fun to make this. To the right of the master sitting area, we have the master bedroom, which has, of course, the double bed with a vanity, dressers, laundry hamper, and a coffin for Jennicor. Now from the first floor porch, you can enter the garage. There is a 2-car driveway and then a 2-car garage. You can see the faint outline of where the driveways actually are for the 2 vehicles that are currently there. And the only way to get into the yard is through this gate right here. So we can lock this to disallow visitors. Let me know what you guys think of this house. I didn't want to just put the normal House of Fallen Trees, but I did want a version of it in my game because it's such a great build. Now let's take a look at our family members. Here they are. Now, if you're not super familiar with the Tricou family, they come with nightlife and are found deceased in downtown. And there is a little bit of lore about them. I say a little bit, but there's actually a lot. In that game, they are not supernaturals, but all 8 of these Sims are indeed supernaturals in my game. They are a matriarchal family, and we will take a look at the family tree in a moment. So Jennicor is the matriarch with her husband, Jon Smith. They have 2 daughters, Jennail, her husband Kvornan, their son Fricorith, and their second daughter, Nylissit, her husband Kiernan, and their daughter Gvaudoin. I'm sure some of you are cringing because how do you pronounce these names? Are these even real names? Maybe, kind of, somewhat? I don't know. For example, I pronounce the last name Tricou, which I'm sure is super American of me. So if I make you cringe, I'm sorry, maybe skip their episodes. And the same goes for their first names. We'll go through their names, how I pronounce them and why, when we go through these Sims themselves. And you guys feel free to leave comments for how you pronounce these names, or how you would if you've never heard them before. I'll be honest, this is the first time I've probably said some of these names out loud, ever. And most of them I've never heard anybody else try to pronounce. We're just gonna go with it. Let's take a look at the family tree before we look at the Sims themselves. Like I said, the matriarch is Jennicor and her husband Jon Smith. They have 2 daughters, Jennail and Nylissit. Kvornan married Jennail, and he is now a Tricou, and they have a son, Fricorith. Nylissit married Kiernan, he is now a Tricou, and they have a daughter, Gvaudoin. So as you can see, all of the females in the family are vampires. I chose vampires because that's the supernatural that comes with the Nightlife expansion, which is the expansion pack that this family ships with. So I decided to make our matriarchal vampires, and then our men are all supernaturals. I did create the basis of a story for this, and we'll go through that with each individual sim. You'll learn more about why Jon Smith Tricou is a zombie when we get to him. Kvornan is a warlock, so I also made Fricorith a warlock. He might not look it, but that's because he is a neutral warlock, whereas his father is an evil warlock. So Fricorith does not yet have a witch overlay. I made them both warlocks because I have a mod in my game called Hereditary Supernaturalism. So, just like I have my Sims inherit traits from their parents, I also have them inherit certain supernatural states. Fricorith inherited his warlock status from his father. If Kvornan and Jennail had another child in game, that child could be a witch or warlock, a vampire, both, or neither. Nylissit's husband Kiernan also doesn't look like a supernatural, and that's because it's daytime. He's actually a werewolf. I'll admit, werewolves are my least favorite supernatural to play in The Sims 2, though they can still be fun. So I figured one of those was enough. These supernatural Sims are going to be so much fun to play, but I do have a few mods, of course, that impact their supernaturalism. For example, in a vanilla game, vampires and zombies are immortal. In my game, they're not. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we actually play the family, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that they're not going to last forever in my game. Let's start with the lady of the house herself, Jennicor Tricou. As an elder vampire who lives a lot longer than non-supernatural Sims in my game, I gave her some extra wrinkles to show her age. But let's have her show us her outfits to start with. I gave her some outfits that I've never given other Sims before, so it was a lot of fun to do her makeover. Jennicor is a pleasure sim, so she is actually the first pleasure sim in our neighborhood, since this is Pleasantview, and so far we've only played with pre-mades, and pre-mades in the base game obviously don't have access to the pleasure aspiration. Jennicor is extremely sloppy and somewhat playful. I haven't written bios for any members of the family yet. As you can see from her 6 want slot, Jennicor went to college, and she is currently an elder. As a vampire who is an elder, she only ages 1 day a week. So her elderhood lasts 7 times as long as a regular sim. All of these Sims start off unemployed, and I haven't given any of them jobs since they're supposed to be just getting to Pleasantview. I randomized her skills and then added any skills she was missing that would have been the minimum she needed to graduate from college. Jennicor was a history major. Now, all of the Tricou family members have lifetime wants. However, because they came with the Nightlife expansion, their lifetime wants are extremely limited. So I decided to use my lifetime want chooser to check out what was available to them based on their personality and interests, and give them all fresh lifetime wants. As a pleasure sim, Jennicor had the option to have 30 dream dates, which I think is absolutely perfect for her, and you will see why when we look at her traits and get a little bit more into Jon's story. Now, since I play with the Sims 3 to the Sims 2 traits mod, Jennicor has the favorite color of black. She loves jazz music. She's a hopeless romantic, which is why she wants to go on all those dates. She's artistic, athletic, has a good sense of humor, family-oriented, as the matriarch of the family, is ambitious, and she's also eco-friendly. Jennicor has 7 traits because she gets 5 for being an adult, a 6th for being an elder, and a 7th for having finished at least 2 years of college. In her inventory, she also has an umbrella and a Watcher Book of Faith, since this is an extremely faithful family. Jennicor and her husband have taken on the responsibility of educating their grandchildren. So my plans for Jennicor are to focus on her lifetime want while she has time with her husband, and also to carry on the family legacy, especially with her grandchildren. If we look at her relationship, she's best friends with her daughter Jennail, Jennail's husband, and her son, as well as her husband. However, she has much lower relationships with her daughter Nylissit and Nylissit's side of the family. Even though she has 3 bolts with Kiernan, she can't stand him. She has a really low lifetime relationship with her granddaughter Gvaudoin. So we're gonna have to see. Even though it's a matriarchal family, is Fricorith the favorite? Is he gonna become the heir to the Tricou family? We're gonna have to see how that all plays out, because Jennicor is the matriarch and she decides what happens. Taking a look at her lifetime aspiration benefits, she is a secondary fortune sim. This is a very wealthy family, and status and wealth are very important to Jennicor. It's no surprise, considering the fact that they had this second home is what allowed them to escape and come to Pleasantview. I gave her the entire needs tree, as well as the first 3 perks in the pleasure tree. I didn't see a need to give her the work tree since her lifetime one is not work related, but as our first pleasure sim, I wanted to give her a lot of those perks to start with. And finally, Jennicor is turned on by cultured and unique sims, and her turnoff is stylish. All of these sims come with pre-made chemistry, however, I have a chemistry mod in my game. In cases where I could keep their chemistry to match their default chemistry, I did. Otherwise, I picked something that was either similar or which suited their personality. This is Jon Smith Tricou, the love of Jennicor's life, or immortal life, undead life. I suppose they're immortal and he's undead? My story for him turning into a zombie is because Jennicor is a hopeless romantic, she couldn't bear the loss of her sweet Jon Smith. Perhaps one of the reasons that she has a good relationship with Jennail and Kvornan is because Kvornan is the one who actually brought Jon back as a zombie, using his evil warlock magic. Perhaps that was what he needed to do to get Jennicor's approval to marry her daughter. I love this long hair on Jon, but let's take a look at his outfits. Now Jon Smith shows up at the top of the family panel as the oldest sim, even though of course Jennicor is the oldest. She just ages much slower. Zombies in my game also age slower. In the vanilla game they're immortal, but in my game they actually age in reverse from vampires. So whereas a vampire ages 3 days a week as a teen, 2 days a week as an adult, and then only 1 day a week as an elder, as their body has acclimated the most towards being a vampire, zombies age that way in reverse. They age 1 day a week as a teen, 2 days a week as an adult, but 3 days a week as an elder. And that's because I see zombies as starting to maybe decompose. Instead of being immortal, they do have a longer lifespan, but over time, they do start to age quicker again. So unless something bad happens to Jennicor, Jon Smith will be the first member of this family to perish. Jon Smith is a family sim who also went to college, so I randomized his skills and then gave him any he was missing that he would have gotten for his degree. He has an almost identical personality to Jennicor, with only 2 sloppy points, though he is slightly nicer than her. He is also closer with Jennail's side of the family, though he is also friends with his granddaughter, Gvaudoin. His lifetime want is to max out 7 skills. You'll see when we get to his traits why I think that this suits him so well, and hopefully he'll have plenty of time to complete it. Jon's favorite color is gray, his favorite music is salsa, he is irresistible, which may explain why even as a zombie he has 2 bolts with his wife. He is a bookworm, hence all the bookshelves. Friendly, handy, hot-headed, an underdog, and a supernatural fan. What are your thoughts on his traits? I feel like he couldn't be married to Jennicor if he wasn't a supernatural fan, and him being irresistible made all the sense in the world to me. He also has a Watcher Book of Faith and an umbrella in his inventory. My plans for him are very similar to Jennicor, though I am also going to have him take care of the house a little bit. Whereas Jennicor is a secondary fortune sim and may do some things to increase the family wealth and connections, Jon's going to focus more on the home, especially during the day when his vampire family members can't go outside. Jon is a secondary knowledge sim, and because his lifetime want is to maximize all of his skills, I gave him the entire knowledge tree. I also gave him Grandma's comfort soup from the family tree, since I expect him to be the one taking care of the other family members. I saw no need to give him any perks on the work tree, so I actually decided to give him the first 3 perks in the needs tree. If he gets another point, we can either get him the last perk in the needs tree, or maybe another on the family tree. And finally, Jon Smith is turned on by the occult and well-liked Sims. His turn-off is Daydreamer. Can we just take a moment to appreciate his portrait picture? I absolutely love the supernatural portraits. It may be a little bit difficult to see him through the witchy aura, but Kvornan is actually our next oldest Sim, though not really, since his wife and her sister age so slowly. And he's also the Sim that looks the least like his original self. But I was having too much fun. Once I decided to make him an evil warlock, things just took off from there, and I couldn't help myself. Let's take a look at his outfits. I am in love with his hair. I have never used it before, and I couldn't help myself. What do you guys think? Is it too much? I think I originally downloaded it because I thought it would be fun to use on my plant sims, but what do you guys think? I'm kind of in love. So, first things first, how would you pronounce his name? I'll put it up on the screen how you spell it. I pronounce it Kvornan. I've always pronounced it that way, but let me know what you guys think. I don't know that there's a right way to pronounce any of these names, but is that how you would pronounce it? Kvornan is a pleasure sim who went to college, and he is a middle-of-the-road Cancer. He has exactly 5 points in every personality trait. He doesn't have a great relationship with his brother and sister-in-law or their daughter, and we'll get to why once we get to that side of the family. But he is best friends with his wife, his son, and his in-laws. He'll become an elder in 15 days, and witches and warlocks age normally in my game. So 15 days means 15 days. Since he went to college, he has 6 want slots, 2 locks, and in addition to randomizing his skills, I also gave him any skills that he was missing, which he would have achieved in college. You'll notice that a lot of the Tricous have really high skills. I'm okay with that for the 2 elders and their daughters, who are vampires and have been alive a lot longer than what the age meter might say. But for their husbands, I was a little less pleased, so I may actually deduct a few of these skill points at some point in the future. Or maybe Jon Smith will use the SimVac to take some from them to help him with his own lifetime want. Kvornan's lifetime want is to become a cult leader. This is the paranormal career track, which comes with the university. I thought that having a lifetime want in the paranormal career and wanting to be a cult leader for an evil warlock was absolute perfection. So as soon as I saw this one on his options list, I had to pick it. Plus, I don't think Jennicor would be opposed to having a phone line to the Grim Reaper in her house. Kvornan's favorite color is green, his favorite music is classical, he is a virtuoso, excitable, an angler, a light sleeper, a natural-born performer, and a natural cook. He has 6 traits, the 5 that you get by the time you're an adult, and then a 6th trait that he got for finishing the first 2 years of college. In his inventory, he also has an umbrella and a Watcher Book of Faith. My plans for him center heavily on his career. Nobody in the neighborhood has the paranormal career yet, and I think that career reward would fit really well in this household. Additionally, as a natural cook, I could see him helping out around the house by creating some gourmet meals. With 8 Sims to feed, food is gonna go quickly. I gave Kvornan the entire pleasure tree because, similar to Jennicor, I'm just excited to have our first pleasure Sims in the neighborhood. I also thought that the top perk, Rowdy Folk Song, was kinda cute to give someone who wants to be a cult leader, like maybe it's a way that he gets people to like or bond with him. He is also a secondary popularity sim, and because he has a career-oriented lifetime want, I gave him the first 2 perks in the work tree. Kvornan's turn-ons are musical and charismatic. His turn-off is animal lover. Now let's move on to Jennail. I'll be honest, when I was younger, I pronounced her name with the J like a Y. Yeah, Nile. I may accidentally go back to that, because Jennail is what I said in my head for so many years. However, when I was putting this family together, I used the J sound for Jennicor and the J sound for Jon Smith. Why do I pronounce the J in Jennail as a Y? My assumption is that since they're all family, they would probably pronounce the same letter the same way. So I'm trying to retrain my brain to call her Jennail. How would you pronounce her name? This is how it's spelled. Let me know in the comments, because I guarantee that we don't all pronounce it the same. But regardless of how you pronounce her name, isn't she gorgeous? I gave her this beautiful complex hairstyle, which is not quite a braid, since her default hairstyle is so long, but I wanted to give her a new spin. I also gave her this tattoo of a moth with the moon phases. Her default outfit has a built-in tattoo across her chest, so I wanted to give her some kind of tattoo. I think it's kind of funny that the tattoo shows up underneath the vampire overlay, but it doesn't really bother me. Now let's take a look at her outfits. Jennail is a fortune sim who went to college, so she has 2 want slots. Currently, she has a lot of wants for her son, which I think is super sweet. She has the exact same personality as her husband. Yeah, sometimes Maxis could be lazy. She has 2 bolts with him and 2 bolts with her brother-in-law. She has a positive relationship with her sister, but not a great one, and a negative relationship with her brother-in-law and her niece. Now, all of the Sims in this family have age bars that look a little bit different than the rest of the neighborhood. And that's because I use a custom aging mod. For our last behind the scenes video, Terra Cat, I just aged her down to teen, aged her back up, and it reset. With this household, I didn't want to do that since there were so many relationships amongst Sims, including marriage and relationship flags. So all of their ages are correct, but it may look like they are earlier or later in their life stage. No need to worry though, they'll age up exactly when they're supposed to. Jennail becomes an elder in 29 days, but since she's a vampire who only ages twice a week, that 29 days is really 29 age up days and not 29 in-game days. When you watch the playthrough, you'll see what I mean. Since she went to college, I did the same as the other Sims. I randomized her skills and gave her any she was missing to match her college degree. Her lifetime want is to become a media magnet. Nobody else in the neighborhood had this want yet. As a fortune sim, she had a lot of career-oriented lifetime want options, so I decided to pick one for her that nobody else in the neighborhood was currently working towards. Jennail's favorite color is red. She likes new wave music. She's perceptive, a virtuoso, over-emotional, loves the heat, a hopeless romantic like her mother, and a schmoozer. It's currently summer in Pleasantview, which you may see reflected in some of their outfit choices, and that's one of the reasons I gave her something that covers some of her skin since she's a vampire, but which also lets her enjoy the warmth. I chose the journalism career for her lifetime want because I thought it went well with her schmoozer and perceptive traits. In her inventory, she also has a Watcher Book of Faith, an umbrella, and a tattoo overlay poster. I meant to do this with Lilith, Pleasant, and her oldie because of their tattoos, and I forgot. But for Sims who have tattoos, I really want to give them the tattoo box that matches the tattoo that they have so that I remember where it came from in case I need to remove it or reapply it later. And since I have so many in my game, which you've seen if you watched my tour of the Valley Shopping Center and took a look in my tattoo parlor, it can be quite hard to remember which overlay box I used to apply. Since she has a career-focused lifetime want, I gave her the entire work tree, as well as one of my favorite perks, the skilled negotiator perk in the fortune tree, her secondary aspiration, which is popularity, and then I decided to give her the first 2 perks in the needs tree. I would like to give her more in the popularity and the fortune tree, however I think that working my way up the needs tree is very important. As a vampire who has a job outside the home, we never know when her working hours are going to change or when they're going to be, so she may need to go out in the sunlight more than some of the other vampires in the house. So I want to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that her needs don't plummet as much as possible. Specifically, I'm eyeing that slower hunger need decay perk. And finally, her turn-ons are fitness and musical, and her turn-off is stylish. I'll be honest, Fricorith is the name that I struggle with the most. So I actually googled how other people pronounce it, and the vast majority seem to pronounce it Fricorith, and I just couldn't make my brain do that. So it's going to be Fricorith for me, at least for now. How do you guys pronounce it? Free? Frith? Korith? Korith? Oh boy, this is going to be a tough house to play. Although he doesn't look it, Fricorith is a neutral warlock. And as soon as I saw this hairstyle, I thought it was perfect for someone in this family, and it's pretty fun considering what his default hairstyle is. But let's take a look at his outfits. I struggled slightly to find outfits that I loved for him that also went with his personality and traits. So if I have time, I might go on a custom content download spree and see if I can find something I like better. Fricorith is a popularity sim who is fairly neat and somewhat shy and lazy. He has a positive relationship with his aunt and uncle, unlike the other members of the household we've seen, and he's actually best friends with his cousin, in addition to his parents and grandparents. As a witch, he ages normally, and he is 7 days away from aging into an adult or young adult. He currently attends Flexi School, which is one of the options in the Simlogical School mod set, which I use to homeschool students. Although playing our functional school is one of my favorite times in this neighborhood, I feel like the Tricou family would homeschool both of the teenagers. They might still be unsure how the neighborhood is going to respond to their presence, and of course Gvaudoin might have issues going to a traditional school with her vampirism and all. We may change this later, or just send Fricorith to school. We'll see what happens as we play through the household. He actually has quite a few skills for a teenager. He randomized very well. His lifetime want is to become an icon level 10. This is another career that came with the University Expansion Pack, the show business career. We don't have anybody else in the neighborhood following this lifetime want, and after I gave him his makeover and looked at his traits, I totally saw show business in his future. His favorite color is red, he likes indie wave music, he's a natural-born performer, a night owl, a couch potato, and hates the outdoors. Since he's lazy, I thought that couch potato suited him, and hating the outdoors and being a night owl might be more learned behaviors considering he lives in a vampire clan. With so many of his family members being creatures of the night and avoiding the outdoors when they can, it might just be something that he picked up on. Also in his inventory is an umbrella, his cauldron that I haven't placed in the house yet, a Watcher Book of Faith, as well as a college tuition, Professor Von Ball. His college education has been fully funded, so we can place that in the house somewhere to accrue interest, but if he goes to college, it will be completely paid for by his family's wealth. It is also worth noting that for both of the teenagers, I'm allowing the game to randomize their gender preference. All of the adults shipped with a gender preference already, but the teenagers are open-ended. I'm very excited to see where his story takes him. He obviously loves being a member of the family, even though he's a male in a matriarchal family. and he wants to get out and see the world. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to be in show business. He's the most quote-unquote normal sim in this family, I suppose. But we'll also have to see how his warlock studies go, and if he becomes an evil warlock, a good warlock, or remains neutral. As a teenager, he's not old enough for a secondary aspiration yet, and I gave him the entire needs tree. My reasoning is that I think he's going to have to pick up some of the slack around the house when some of his supernatural family members can't, and he's also a night owl that's going to want to stay up all night to hang out with his supernatural family members. So having the slower energy decay could be super useful for him in getting to spend time with the family members that he so clearly adores. His turn-ons are occult and cultured, and his turn-off is stylish. If you've noticed the stylish turn-on and turn-off being used a lot, it's because a lot of these sims shipped with a turn-on or turn-off for clothing. And so I decided that if they had the clothing turn-on or turn-off, such as swimwear or formal wear, which I don't have in my game, to use stylish as a compromise. Say hello to Kiernan Tricou. He's a sim that I also think looks quite different from his original, but I'm not entirely sure why. I think it might be the facial hair that I gave him. Now, it is currently 9:48 a.m., so it's hard to tell, but Kiernan is a werewolf. Every evening he will transform. Perhaps he's quite disruptive to the family, which is why they don't all love him. Or maybe it's something else. But before we get to that, let's take a look at his outfits. Well, he definitely looks the part of a Tricou, doesn't he? At least with those outfits. Kiernan is a romance sim who has a personality extremely similar to his father-in-law. In fact, I think only one point has been moved. He's slightly more grouchy and a little bit more neat, but only by 1 point each. In his relationship panel, you will see that he has 2 bolts with his wife, 2 bolts with his sister-in-law, 3 bolts with his mother-in-law, and although most of the family members can't stand him, he has positive relationships with all of them. Although you can see he doesn't have any romantic relationship with his wife. They're married, but there's no crush or love flag. And that's because you'll notice an extra sim in his relationship panel that we haven't seen yet. And that's Jennail, who we mentioned earlier helped them fake their death. I've also put her in the neighborhood, though she won't be playable. I made her into a tourist, so we'll see her when our sims go on vacation. But he has a crush on her, and we'll take a look at his memories as to why in a second. But just to give you some background, she helped the Tricou family fake their death and make the move to Pleasantview, and they paid her very handsomely for it. Now she spends her time as a tourist, visiting all of the vacation destinations in our game. So we'll see her, and she's available in-game for Sims to form relationships with. Maybe she'll become part of our story, or maybe not. So if we look at Kiernan's memories, you can see that he had his first kiss with his wife, they fell in love, went steady, engaged, married, woohoo, baby, all the things. And then he had 2 best friends, one of which was Jennail. He had an affair with her, kissed her, made out with her, and then was caught cheating by Nylissit. Oops. You'll notice that immediately after that, that's when they decided to fake their deaths and start anew in Pleasantview. Could that have been the reason that they had to leave? Was that a spark for something nefarious that happened? We'll develop the story more as we get to know our Sims and how their relationships progress. I'm very focused on character-driven gameplay, so since I'm giving these characters their stories, I want to give them a starting point that they can develop from. I don't want to decide everything before they have a chance to influence the story themselves. Since Kiernan went to college, I randomized his skills and then gave him any he was missing for his college degree. He is currently 17 days away from becoming an elder, and as a werewolf, he ages normally. His lifetime want is to paint a 1000 simoleon masterpiece. So he would like to maximize his creativity skill and continue painting. It's actually quite difficult to paint a 1000 simoleon masterpiece, in my experience. He's going to have to do a lot of painting. I think that his lifetime want goes well with his traits, so let's take a look. His favorite color is black, he likes R&B music, he is a mooch, a born salesperson, eccentric, a worrier, inappropriate, and a snob. He's quite an outlier amongst this family, in my opinion. This may be why he doesn't get along with everybody else, or it could just be that the other family members dislike him because he cheated on his wife, and they don't take kindly to that. In fact, the fact that she's allowed him to stay with the family is probably what caused some friction between her and the other members of her family. They probably want him gone, and she's allowing him to stay. So for how long? Maybe they'll both have to move out. If Jennicor decides that she doesn't want them in her family anymore. Does that mean that Nylissit and Gvaudoin are going to have to leave also? That could cause a lot of friction in the house. You can see how he might have pulled one over on his wife as a born salesperson. And I see him as sort of this starving artist, right? He's a mooch. He wants to do his painting and be recognized for that, and he doesn't really care about anybody else. He's also a bit of a snob, which goes with his artsy side. Also in his inventory is a Watcher Book of Faith and an umbrella. If enough members of the family continue fighting or disliking him, we are definitely going to have to figure out what to do with him. What's going to happen? Is he going to be the crack that breaks his family apart? And will he roll any wants for Jennail? She is in the game, so we could continue to pursue that relationship. Or he may find a new mistress. If he cheats on his wife again and gets caught, chances are that could end things for them, or end him permanently. Kiernan is old enough for a secondary aspiration, and he has the secondary knowledge aspiration. But I actually spent most of his reward perks on the romance tree. I imagine that he was able to successfully smooth talk Nylissit, and that's why she's allowed him to stay in their marriage. I felt very strongly that he needed the smooth talk perk for his story. I then used his remaining 2 perks on his needs tree, since I saw no need for him to have the work tree, and I thought that the needs tree made more sense than the knowledge tree, since he's going to have to spend quite a bit of time painting. Like, a lot of time. And finally, his turn-ons are stylish and tidy, and his turn-off is fatness. I think Nylissit is super adorable. Before we get into her makeover, how do you say her name? Nylissit? 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 Nylissit. I call her Nylissit. But until I started recording this video, I'd actually never said her name out loud. And I tend to call her Lissy in my head. So this is another case of me retraining my brain to call her by her full name. I love this hairstyle on her, and I kept her dark shades, but let's take a look at her outfits. I think the faux fur coat that she wears when she ships with the game is so signature, is so recognizably her. But I couldn't find anything that fit quite that well, especially for summertime. Nylissit is a popularity sim who went to college, and she is extremely neat and pretty grouchy. She still has 2 bolts with her husband, though they're not in love or crush, and she only has a 59/7 relationship with him. She's not friends with anyone in the house except for her daughter, and she also knows Jennail, since she caught her cheating with her husband, and has a negative relationship with her, understandably. She was also given a random set of skills, with the addition of any she would have gotten with her college degree. She is 29 days away from becoming an elder, though she only ages 2 days a week as an adult. And her lifetime want is to have 30 successful parties. Whereas her sister focuses on the wealth side, Nylissit focuses on the connection side of building their family legacy. My question is she gonna have all of these parties here at Tricou Manor? Or is she gonna have to have them on a community lot, since I'm not sure that they want people peeking around every corner in this house. Now let's take a look at her traits. Her favorite color is white, her favorite music is hip-hop, she's ambitious, a social butterfly, neat, irresistible like her father, dramatic, and a daredevil. I also expect that there's some sibling rivalry between her and her sister, since they are in a matriarchal family and they're both female. In fact, I made them twins. I suppose the question has always been, who's going to be the heir? Also in her inventory is a Watcher Book of Faith and an umbrella. My plans for her are to see where her relationship with her husband goes and see if she can poise her daughter to have a better relationship with her grandparents. Even if her mother likes her sister better, her sister only has a son, whereas Nylissit has a daughter. So if Gvaudoin can win her grandmother over, chances are she'll become the heir. Nylissit is a secondary fortune aspiration, and because she doesn't have a work-related lifetime want, I decided to give her perks in the popularity and needs tree, specifically the entire popularity tree. Several of her family members have career-oriented lifetime wants, even though she doesn't, so they're gonna need lots of family friends. I thought that this would be a good role for her, to make family friends, and the Fast Friends perk is gonna come in super handy for that. Looking at her chemistry, her turn-ons are fitness and charismatic, and her turn-off is plant lover. And last but not least, we have Gvaudoin, our teenage vampire. So I will put up how to spell her name on the screen. How do you guys pronounce this? I've always pronounced it with the G being silent and with the ending being pronounced almost with a W. Juan. I don't know why. I suppose I know other names with similar letters that are pronounced this way, but if I sounded it out, it would be pronounced much differently. Gvaudoin is so cute with her blue lipstick, and I wanted to briefly show you that I kept her bun with a hair stick in it, similar to the hairstyle she has as a default. But let's take a look at her outfits before we get to know her better. When she ships with Nightlife, she's wearing the blue version of the private school uniform, so I wanted to keep something similar as her everyday in terms of a skirt. Since I'm not actually having her leave the household to go to school, I didn't want to put her in a private school uniform. Gvaudoin is a fortune sim, and personality-wise, she's extremely similar to her mother, with only 2 or 3 personality points being different. Her relationships are all over the place. And this is similar to when she ships with the game. If you resurrect the Tricous in downtown, she will have a negative relationship with everybody except perhaps her cousin. Some people speculate that she's the one who started the fire that burned down part of the House of Fallen Trees. But for this story trajectory, she's best friends with her cousin, best friends with her mother, and she has a good daily relationship with her uncle, grandfather, and father. But she does have negative lifetime relationships with all of them. She also has an overall negative daily and lifetime relationship with both her aunt and her grandmother. So, as the female grandchild, you would think that she's the one poised to be heir, but I don't think that that's how the other female half of the family feels. Although it might be what her mother wants, Gvaudoin is getting along with the other females. So how is that going to work? Is she going to leave the family? Is she going to do something to try to win them over? We'll have to see how she handles this. Does she feel like her birthright might be being taken away, or does she really not care? She's going to be an interesting character to play. She is 8 days away from being an adult, and as a teenage vampire, she ages 3 days a week. So her teenage years last roughly twice as long as normal Sims. I randomized her skills and also enrolled her in the flexi school or homeschooling option. And her lifetime want is to outlive rich spouses until you have 150,000 simoleons. I wasn't sure what to expect when I looked at this family's lifetime wants that were available to them, but when I saw this one on Gvaudoin's list, I had to pick it. I think it's perfect for a vampire sim to want to get married and outlive their spouses. This is such a perfect fortune sim want. And also maybe one of the reasons why her aunt and grandmother don't take her seriously or like her. Rather than wanting to work to better the family, she may be looking for outsiders to bring into the family to enhance it. And that might be a different way of going about things than previous generations. Now let's take a look at her traits. Her favorite color is blue. She likes new wave music. She loves the cold. She is neat, rebellious, and has star quality. You can see that she inherited the neat trait, from her mother, and her rebellious side may also be leading her towards a different path than previous generations in this clan. Like her cousin, she has a fully funded Professor Von Ball, so if she goes to college, it will be fully paid for. She also has a Watcher Book of Faith and an umbrella in her inventory. She had 4 points available to her. Since she does not have a career-oriented lifetime want, I did not give her any perks in the work tree, and obviously, she's too young for a secondary aspiration. One thing I should note right here is that even though her mother and aunt are 29 days away from becoming elders, which is typically earlier than I would give secondary aspirations, I did give them both their secondary aspirations because they've actually lived more days since they're vampires. For Gvaudoin, I decided to give her the full needs tree since I thought that that would be useful for our vampire sim. The first perk on the fortune tree gives them a higher salary, but since she won't be working, I didn't think that that was a priority as a teenager. And finally, if we look at her chemistry, her turn-ons are fitness and blonde hair, and her turn-off is fatness. These are actually exactly what they are when she ships with the game. What do you guys think? How have I done with these sims? How have I done with the house? Where do you think that their stories are going to take them? If you'd like to see more videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And I can't wait to see you back here in Pleasantview very soon.